Hello everyone, this is grade 6, module 2, lesson 12 problem set. The directions state, round to estimate the quotient, then compute the quotient using a calculator and compare the estimate to the quotient. So because there's 10 of them, I'll do probably 5 different ones here, so I'll start with 1. When I go to estimate this, I want to make them very, very friendly numbers. I want the divisor to be a multiple of 10. That'll allow me to do what you did in class, which is do the one digit division. So I'm going to take 11, and it's very close to 10. And 715, I'm going to look at that 1 there, and I'm going to keep it rounded to 700. And that to me is a very friendly division, because I could do 700 divided by 10, or I could take off my 0 in the ones place, which means divide it by 10 to get it down to 1. And if I do it to this side, I have to do it to this number. Meaning if I do it, whatever I do to the divisor, I have to do to the dividend, so that would put it to 70. And I know 1 can go into 7 times, and then I have my 0 there too, so it's 70. That's my estimate. It's going to be 70. Again, I could have done 10 into 700, but I can also take off a 0 on each, or divide by 10 on each first, and then do my division. So that's my estimate. When I plug it into the calculator, I'm going to get an actual answer of 65. So when I compare these, I notice that since the divisor is very close to a multiple of 10, which it is, because it's only 1 off, and when I look at my 715, it's very close to 700, my actual is very close to my estimate. And it's primarily because we're going to see the divisor needs to be close to a multiple of 10 to get a pretty accurate look at it. So we finished 1. I'm going to look at 2 next. I'll probably do 5, 6, and then I'll do 9. So there's the 5 that I'll be doing for this. So for 2, I see we have 7,884 divided by 12. Again, I'm going to take this 12 and I'm going to put it to 10. Because I want it to be near a multiple of 10. This 7,884, that's an 8 in the hundreds place, which rounds this 7,000 up to 8,000. So I'm really doing 8,000 divided by 10. So when I set this up, I could just do 8,000 divided by 10. But I know, again, if I want to get to an individual fact, a single digit one, I can divide by 10 or take away that 0, but whatever I do to the divisor, I have to do to the dividend. So I'd have to take off a 0 there or divide by 10 there. So now I'm left with 1 as my divisor, and I have 800 on the inside. And I know 1 can go into 8 times, and then I have my 2 zeros. So it's 800. That's going to be my estimate right here. Now for my actual, when I actually plug this into a calculator and calculate this out, 7,884 divided by 12, I'm going to get 657. And you see that they're not as close as the first one. We were only 5 off on the first one, but the numbers we're working with, we've gotten bigger, and our divisor is a little further away from that multiple of 10. It's not as close as 1, but it's still fairly close because my divisor is close to a multiple of 10. So there's my explanation for it, or my comparison between those two. So now let's take a look at 5. We're starting to move up a little bit, and we see we're at 15 as our divisor. So we have 48,825 divided by 15. Now, I could go either direction on this one. Technically, you're supposed to round up to 20, or we can stay at 10. And based on these numbers and based on our lesson today, I'll keep it right where the lesson was, and they want us to take this 15 and move it to 10. So because we're 5 away there, we're also 5 away going up to 20. Now that's going to help us when we round this one. So we have 48,825. I see that 8 right there, and that's going to force it up to 50,000. So dividing it by 10 is a good thing. If I divided it by 20, I know that 2 can't go into 5 evenly. So that's part of the reason why we're going to 10 with this, is we want to make sure that we have a one-digit division. So a very simple mental math fact that we can do in our head. So when I set this up, we have 50,000 divided by 10. And again, that's not a too difficult of a calculation to do, but I can make this even easier by dividing by 10. And whatever I do to the divisor, I have to do to the dividend. So really, I have 1 now in my divisor. There's my 5. I know 1 can go into 5 times with nothing left over. So now all of these zeros can now just drop up above. So really what we had was 5,000 divided by 1. So there's my estimate of 5,000. And we're going to see that the actual for this, when you plug it into your calculator, 48,825 divided by 15, you actually get, I can't even copy my calculator right, 3,255. So we're almost 1,800 away. We're 1,745 away. So we're starting to see a big difference in our estimate compared to 1 and 2. So because the divisor is midway between multiples of 10, what I mean by multiples of 10 are 10 and 20, and we were sitting right here at 15. We were halfway between those two multiples of 10. The quotient is in the same place value, so we have thousands, 5,000, 3,000, but it's not nearly as close as the estimate when the divisor is closer. So as this divisor gets further away from a multiple of 10, the estimate is going to be further away. And that's really what we want to see for this. So now let's try, let's do 6. And we're starting to move away from our multiple of 10 to the next multiple of 10, which is 20. So we have 135,296. And again, when I round this, I'm looking here at the 5. That's going to round it up to 140,000. And 16 now is not close to 10. It's now close to 20 because we're past the midway point. So when you're at 15 for estimating, most of the time you want to round up, but we want to make it friendly numbers like we did in 5. But this one, we're past it, so we have to go to 20. So now my setup for this is by 20. So again, I could try to divide this out, or I can divide by 10 here and divide by 10 here to keep them equal. And now it's 2 divided by 4, or 14 divided by 2. And I know that's going to get me 7. So that's an easy calculation in my head. And what we want is a one-digit divisor when we're dividing. Before we had one digit on one digit, like up above. But now it's 2-digit on 1 digit, which is still very, is more manageable than what we were working with. So 7 times 2 is 14, so that's going to give me 0. So all the rest of these zeros, I can just put next to it. So 7,000 is my estimate. Now when I go to do my actual, and I plug that into the calculator, so what I'm plugging in is 135,296 divided by 16, I get 8,456. So we see we're 1,456 off on that one. And so my comparison between this is the divisor is not as close to a multiple of 10, so the quotient is not nearly as close to the estimate. Same thing as we had just above. Because we're not very close to 20, we're like 4 away, our actual is going to be quite a bit different than our estimate. And part of the reason is we made our divisor bigger by going to 20. So that's going to make our quotient smaller because we're breaking it into more pieces. Even though we rounded this up, we made more groups to break it into. So we want to try to get, for our estimate, our numbers as close to the multiple of 10 as possible. But again, we can't really control that. So when we look at this last one, for 9, we have 19. That's very close to 20. So I'm anticipating that because this 19 is close to a multiple of 10, we're going to have a somewhat close estimate compared to the actual. So let's take a look at that, and I'll do this one in orange. And we have 99,066 divided by 19. Well, what I'm going to do with that 99,000 is I'm going to round that up. Because I have a 9 right here, this one. And what I want to do with it is say that it's very close to going up, so I round up, that 9 turns to a 10, so I'm really at about 100,000. And I'm going to divide it by 19 is very close to 20. And again, I want to get to something that is a multiple of 10, either 10, 20, as you get higher numbers, 30, 40, 50, and so on. So I'm going to 20. So my setup for this is 100,000 divided by 20. But what I can do is make this a one-digit divisor by dividing by 10 here and dividing by 10 here. So I have 2 goes in, it can't go into 1, but if I add that 0, it can go in 5 times. And it's even now, it's all equal. So now I have 1, 2, 3 more zeros to add, so I can just put those in the answer. And I'll add those in to show. 2 goes into 10,000, 5,000 times. So this is my estimate. And my actual, when I type this into my calculator, and again, when I type in my actual, I'm typing in 99,066 divided by 19, and I'm going to get 5,214. And I can see 5,000, 5,214. They're very, very similar to each other. They're very close because the divisor is very close to a multiple of 10. So the quotient is going to be very close to the estimate. So as our divisor gets closer to these multiples of 10, our estimate and our actual answer will be closer. So I hope this helps. Thanks for watching, and good luck on the rest of your problem set.